Welcome to the Privacy Report. Today, going to tackle a topic that, let's be honest, often feels like homework: data backups.
Yeah, it's definitely not the sexiest part of digital security, is it? But it's probably one of the most crucial.
We spend so much time talking about preventing breaches, the firewalls, the encryption.
Right, stopping the bad guys getting in. But what if they do? Or, simpler scenario, what if your hard drive just dies? Or your laptop gets stolen?
Exactly. Suddenly that backup isn't just a convenience,
Yeah.
it's everything. It's the difference between a bad day and, well, digital catastrophe.
And it's more than just hardware failure now. Think ransomware, think data seizure. Your backup is your leverage, your way to retain control.
Okay, so that's our mission today, really. To unpack the main types of backups, there are differences, and figure out how you can build a strategy that actually keeps you in control of your own information.
Moving beyond just hoping for the best, right? Towards actual digital resilience.
Because that's the foundation of real self-defense online. A plan works. And just a quick note before we dive deeper, you can always get more insights like these by subscribing to our email newsletter over at theprivacyreport.net. Okay, so backups as foundational privacy. You mentioned control. Why is it so fundamental, maybe even alongside strong encryption? If my disk is encrypted, isn't that enough?
Well, encryption is fantastic for confidentiality, right?
Right.
It stops people reading your data if they shouldn't, but it doesn't stop the data being destroyed or locked away from you by ransomware or simply confiscated.
Okay, so encryption protects the content, but backups protect the existence and your access to the data.
Precisely. If someone else controls the only copy of your data, whether it's a hacker with ransomware or maybe even authorities seizing a device, you've lost your autonomy, you're at their mercy.
So the backup is like your escape hatch. If ransomware hits, you don't have to pay. If a device is gone.
You can recover. It neutralizes the threat. That's the defense against ransomware extortion. But maybe even more critical for privacy is defending against what we call coercive data exposure.
Meaning, if they hold your only copy, they can force you to do things.
Exactly. Give up passwords, information, anything. Having your own secure, separate copy means you don't have to comply. The power stays with you.
Right. That makes a huge difference. Okay, let's get into the tools then. These three types: full, incremental, differential. They sound similar, but you said they have different trade-offs. Let's start with full backups.
Full backup. It's the simplest concept. Every time it runs, it copies everything you've selected. A complete snapshot.
Straightforward. What's the main advantage there?
Ease of restoration. Since each backup is a complete standalone copy, getting your data back is usually very simple and fast. You just grab that one backup set.
Okay, simple restore.
Ah.
But the downside must be storage and time.
Huge downsides there, yeah. It eats up the most storage space, by far. And running a full backup, especially of a lot of data, can take a really long time.
And in a privacy context, where do we want these full copies ideally?
These are often your deep storage backups, the ones you count on for disaster recovery. So ideally, encrypted, obviously, and stored offline.
The classic air gap strategy.
Exactly. Physically disconnected from the network. So if your main systems are compromised, say by ransomware spreading, these backups are safe, untouchable.
But wait, that air gap, you still have to connect the drive sometime to do the backup, right? Doesn't that create a vulnerability window?
It does, and that's where discipline comes in. You minimize that connection time. You make sure the system doing the backup is clean, maybe even offline itself during the transfer. For really sensitive stuff, people use dedicated machines just for this, or they rotate multiple drives so only one is ever connected briefly. It's not foolproof, but it's about minimizing that exposure.
Got it. It requires real diligence. Okay, moving to the other end of the spectrum maybe. Efficiency.
Incremental backups.
Right. Incremental is all about speed and saving space.
Yeah.
It only backs up the changes made since the last backup, and that last one could have been another incremental or a full one. So it's just capturing the differences each time. Sounds much faster.
By much faster. And uses way less storage than full backups. Great for situations where data changes constantly and you want very frequent backups.
But there's always a but, isn't there? What's the catch with incremental?
The catch is complexity and fragility during restore. To get your data back, you need the original full backup.
Okay.
And every single incremental backup file created since then, all in the correct order.
Wow. Okay, so it's like a chain.
Exactly. And if any single link in that chain is broken, maybe one file gets corrupted, a disk error, anything, you might not be able to restore anything after that break, the whole chain can become useless.
Oof. That sounds risky, especially if you're relying on, say, a cloud service that uses incremental backups behind the scenes. You're trusting their system perfectly preserves every single piece.
You are utterly reliant, so you need to really trust their systems, their redundancy, how they handle encryption keys, data integrity checks. It shifts a lot of technical risk onto the provider, or onto you if you're managing it yourself.
Okay, so full is simple but bulky. Incremental is fast but fragile. That brings us to the middle ground. Differential backups. He said this is where it gets interesting.
Yeah, differential tries to balance things like incremental, it backs up changes. But crucially, it backs up all changes made since the last full backup.
Ah, so it always looks back to that stable full backup,
Yeah.
not just the previous incremental step.
Exactly. It doesn't build that long, fragile chain.
So for restoring,
hmm
what do you need?
Much simpler than incremental. You just need two things: the last full backup and the latest differential backup file. That's it.
Okay, that sounds way more robust. Fewer points of failure.
Definitely more reliable for restoration. But the trade-off, that differential file keeps growing.
How so?
Well, each time it runs, it adds all the new changes since the last full backup. Plus, it still contains all the changes from previous differential runs in that cycle, so the file gets bigger and bigger, and the backup process takes longer and longer until you eventually run another full backup to start a new cycle.
I see. So it uses more storage over time than incremental and gets slower, but it's safer to restore.
That's the balance. It's often a really good fit for, say, individuals running their own home server or NAS, maybe doing differentials daily, and a full backup weekly.
Right, maybe using some of those open source tools you hear about, like Borg or Restic.
Perfect examples. Tools like Borg, Resic, Duplicati often handle this kind of thing well, with features like deduplication to help manage the storage growth, plus built-in encryption. They let you manage a robust strategy on your own terms.
Okay, so we have these three approaches: full safe, slow, big. Incremental fast, efficient, fragile. Differential balanced, growing, safer restore. How does someone listening actually choose? How do you build a strategy?
It really starts with your personal situation. What are you trying to protect against? What's your tolerance for data loss or downtime?
Your threat model, essentially.
Exactly. If your biggest fear is, say, total physical loss, fire, theft, or sophisticated ransomware, you lean heavily on those offline encrypted full backups, maybe less frequently. If you're more concerned about recovering quickly from accidental deletions or minor errors, you might incorporate daily incrementals or differentials into the mix.
So it could be a hybrid approach.
Often it is for businesses, maybe incrementals daily, differentials weekly, fulls monthly. But for individuals, simpler might be better.
But regardless of the mix of sole, incremental, differential, is there one overriding principle everyone should follow? A kind of golden rule?
Absolutely. The 3-2-1 principle. This is like the bedrock. Non-negotiable if you're serious about protecting your data.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Let's break that down. What does it mean in practice?
It's simple but powerful. It means keep at least 3 copies of your important data.
3 copies, so the original plus 2 backups.
Correct. Then store these copies on 2 different types of media.
Okay, 2 media types. Why?
To protect against failures of a specific type of storage. For instance, don't just rely on multiple external hard drives from the same batch, which might fail similarly. Use, say, your internal SSD and external HDD and maybe cloud storage. Or 2 different brands of drives. Diversify the physical media.
Makes sense. So 3 copies, 2 media types, and the last part.
And keep one of those copies off-site, geographically separate.
Ah, the off-site rule. That's the one that protects against major disasters, right? Fire, flood, burglary, things that could wipe out everything in one location.
Precisely. If your house burns down, having 2 backups sitting right next to the original computer doesn't help you much. That off-site copy is your ultimate insurance policy.
But getting that off-site copy secure, that seems like the tricky part.
It is the hardest part, typically. Your options are basically a trusted cloud storage provider, emphasis on trusted, with strong, verifiable, zero-knowledge encryption where you control the keys. Or a physical approach. Storing an encrypted drive at a friend's or relative's house, a safe deposit box, somewhere physically separate and secure. It takes effort, but it's the only way to cover that worst-case physical scenario.
Right, so 3, 2, 1 gives us the structure. But you could follow 3, 2, 1 perfectly and still have a huge vulnerability, couldn't you, if the backups themselves aren't secured?
Mandatory point. Encryption is not optional here. Any backup data that leaves your direct physical control, whether it's going to the cloud or sitting on that offsite drive,
It has to be encrypted.
encrypted at rest, and ideally during transit too, if it's going over a network. But encryption immediately brings up the most critical question. Where are your encryption keys?
Ah, the keys to the kingdom. if the key is stored with the backup or easily found online.
Then the encryption is basically theater. You've created a single point of failure. An attacker who gets your backup and the key has everything. The key needs separate, secure protection.
How separate are we talking?
For really critical data, truly offline, printed and stored securely, maybe in a physical safe, stored in a dedicated offline password manager or on a hardware security key. Definitely not just in a text file on the same computer or cloud account.
Because losing the key is just as bad as losing the data, right?
Yeah.
Encrypted data without the key is just gibberish.
Exactly. We've seen that happen. Perfect backups, perfectly encrypted, key lost, result, total data loss. Key management is absolutely vital. Don't overlook it.
Okay, key management is crucial. Encryption is mandatory. We follow 3-2-1. Is there anything else? One final step people often miss.
Yes, the step that turns hope into confidence. Testing. Regular testing.
Just checking if the backup job completed isn't enough.
Not even close. A backup job completing just means files were copied. It doesn't mean those files are readable or that you can actually restore your system from them.
So what does proper testing look like?
You need to actually try restoring things. Periodically. Try restoring a few random files or folders. Check their integrity, but the real test, the one you should do maybe once or twice a year, a full bare metal restore test.
Mimi.
Take a spare machine or even a virtual machine, wipe it clean, and try to restore your entire system from your backup set. Can you boot it up? Can you log in? Is your data there and accessible?
Wow. Okay. That's thorough.
It's the only way to be sure. So many things can go wrong: missing drivers, boot sector issues, software incompatibilities that crept in over time. If you haven't successfully restored it, you don't have a backup strategy. You have a backup hope.
That's a really powerful way to put it. Faith versus security.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing it all together, understanding these types, full, incremental, differential choosing based on your needs, applying the 3-2-1 rule rigorously, encrypting everything, managing those keys separately, and then testing the restore process. That's the path.
That's the path to taking control, to knowing your data story remains yours no matter what happens: attacks, accidents, failures, even coercion.
It feels like knowing you have that working recovery plan changes your whole posture online.
It absolutely does. It's empowering. It shifts the dynamic. When you know you can recover, you operate from a position of strength. That's the foundation of real digital self-defense.
A perfect final thought. Thanks for walking us through all that. And thank you all for tuning into the Privacy Report. If this discussion helped you think differently about your own backup strategy, please do like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps others find the show. And just a quick final note, this episode was made with the assistance of AI.